People buy from people. Pipl buy from people. Huh?
Pipl Systems.
Yeah, Pipl Systems. And we built a business from literally $0 into a multi-million-dollar business. We didn't lose our project business. That was just the icing on the cake. We started to build a run rate business, which they had never really had before, or very little. Starting your own business, it's not easy. You don't know what's going to happen. I consult for manufacturers.
How much can earn in 1 month?
Generally speaking, that's not a good idea. The best way is to find a company that needs that help, create the agreement with them, and start that way, like I did. Not just say, oh, I know how this works. Future of the security industry. For me, this is the most exciting product, the most exciting capability I've ever seen. I believe that true artificial intelligence will change our industry for the better.
Hello guys, you are on Pipl Systems Podcast. Today I have my friend is a guest on our podcast. So Luke Raymond.
Oleg Bordian.
Please introduce yourself for our audience.
Hi, I'm Luke Raymond. As Oleg said, we are actually friends in real life. I am been in the industry for 25 years now. 25 years in our industry. And I run a company. I'm the president of a company called LSL Security. It's a consulting firm that I specialize in consulting for different manufacturers in and around the security space.
Okay, look, because on this channel, for these videos, for podcast, we talk about business. So we talk less about technical thing, but with you, I think even we can talk about AI, about trends, about all this stuff. But maybe at first, can you tell your story? How you because now you have your own company in security industry, it's your own business, and we talk about business. So can you explain how you came to this? What is your journey?
That's a rough one. I've been in the industry for 25 years now, and I guess my journey started while I was still in university back in 2001. So a little bit before 9/11 happened, I had just started university. I was doing a degree in history with a minor in classical archaeology. It has absolutely nothing to do with my job today. I just loved history and I wanted to be a history teacher. But the problem being from a poor family is that I had no way to pay for my education unless I worked. And I already been working full time since I was 17 years old. So in order to pay for my education, I had quit my previous job, which was during the day. I had to go to school during the day, obviously, full time. And then I got a job working nights and weekends, 50 to 60 hours a week. Basically didn't sleep at all during university, but that paid for both my education and for my rent and board and everything. And that was at a company from the security industry. I actually started doing telemarketing for a company called Alarm Zone. Literally selling alarm systems on the telephone. That annoying person that you picks up the phone and, hi, this is Luke Raymond from Alarm Zone. Yeah, I was quite literally telemarketing, and I had been telemarketing for a few years before. But back then, telemarketing was all the rage. Everyone was doing it. So I started in about August, I believe, of 2001, and then September happened, 9/11. And all of a sudden, I mean, I'm already working in the security world. It'd been about a month, selling these alarm systems. And all of a sudden, everything became about security. So at Alarm Zone, which was a big ADT dealer selling ADT alarm systems, I think our record was about 30,000 in a year, about 2,700, a little over 2,700 systems sold in a month. So huge company. But when I first started, it was still small, and we built it up over time. And I got promotion after promotion. I started customers, sales, and then customer service, and then I got a promotion in customer service to supervisor, and then eventually I was managing the whole customer service department. There was 3 managers, myself, a gentleman named Sadi, and then Maziar Arstaki, and the 3 of us were managing the whole customer service department. Then I ended up getting into the contracts, and they put me into the contracts department. So I started learning, how ADT contracts are done, the legalities behind it, having to go back and get, corrections on it done and signed by customers. And I learned the whole back part of it. And this was over a couple of years now. So fast forward a few years, and I'm now nearing the end of my university tenure. And I asked myself a question. I said, well, hold on a second. I've now been working in the security world doing this and getting these promotions for a couple of years. And I'm making, I mean, let's be clear, I'm from Quebec. Teachers here are not paid very well. And I remembered how I used to treat my teachers in high school. And I was like, do I really want to go and be that history teacher that I treated that badly? I was not the best student. Or am I going to continue in the security world? And I was already making as much as I was going to make as a history teacher. So I said, you know what? To heck with it. And I decided to continue going in security. What happened is I actually applied to a company called ADI. ADI is a distributor.
Wow, it's the biggest distributor.
It's
One of the biggest.
I think it is the biggest distributor in North America.
In security.
Yeah, in the security world, it's massive. So I applied to ADI and I got a job at the counter. You know, when you walk into ADI and those beginner people are at the counter, well, I was one of those. And beside me were two people named Bernard Leveillé and Lynn Vallée. Well, today, Lynn Vallée is running the Montreal branch, and she's a fantastic branch manager. Shout out to Lynn Vallée, she is a rock star. And back then, her and I were working at the counter, those newbies being served. And I very quickly started to get a taste for what distribution was and the needs of the customers, the integrators from a distributor. And I started understanding how warehouses work. I helped in the warehouse, and I was an inside sales guy, so I started learning the systems. And I literally learned how alarm systems and fire systems and all this worked from a basic level while at ADI. They teach you this. It's possibly, in my opinion, one of the best educations you can get is getting into distribution, because they spend the time and they spend the money teaching you about the industry.
So here's the question, because I didn't work in such companies like ADI. So they taught you like technical things, or just how to sell?
So a little bit of both.
Type of this education?
At first, you start to learn the sales portion, how to put an alarm system together, what components you need, motion detectors and contacts and glass break detectors. In general. But then they also have some technical courses. And as long as you do them, you start to learn the technical side of things. What is a relay? Well, how does a relay work? Well, why do fire systems work the way they do? Mm-hmm. What is access control? What is 125 kilohertz card versus a DESFire card? You start to learn the basics and a little bit more technical. Now, they're not going to do in-depth technical because you don't need to. However, the advantage of being in distribution is that manufacturers come in and they teach you.
Yes, they teach you.
And I'm never going to forget, the first training I ever had, a technical training, was with a gentleman who was the rep for RCI. Now, Yvan Roberge. Yvan Roberge, love the guy. He gave me a training on electric strikes and how electric strikes work. And I learned all about door hardware from this guy, and that was the first technical training I ever had. And for years and years and years, I've always remembered Yvan Roberge, Yvan Degache. That's a French joke, by the way. It means he sells strikes, Yvan Degache. Anyway, doesn't matter. Cheesy joke. But the point is, in distribution, you learn. You learn the industry. Okay. You learn how to sell. You learn the technical side of things, and you create connections. Everything in our world is about connections.
And the relationships.
All about relationships. People buy from people. People buy from people. Huh?
Pipl Systems.
Yeah, Pipl Systems. But it's true. And these connections you make are lifelong connections. Lynn Vallée still runs the Montreal branch, and I worked with her 20 plus years ago, right?
Okay, so and then how many years you spend in ADI?
So I spent about 2.5 years at ADI, and from ADI I was actually picked up by the guy who used to run ADI for North America, a legend in our industry, a gentleman named Ken Hall. And he became my first real mentor in our industry. You see, yes, you learn in distribution, but every once in a while someone comes along and becomes a mentor for you, teaches you new things. And he was my first mentor that I can point to. Ken Hall came and picked me up from ADI and said, I see something in you. Now at the time, I'm going to be completely honest, I didn't see it in myself. I had no idea what he was talking about. Mm-hmm. But he taught me. He taught me the basics of sales. Now I had already picked up the basics of sales in a lot of ways. The same rules I used in telemarketing years ago, how to create a relationship, how to speak to somebody, are the same rules I use in sales today.
So it's like, and we're talking about B2B sales, right?
B2B, B2C, anything. Mm-hmm. Sales is sales.
So you went from ADI.
Yes.
And what the name of this new company?
This company was,
It was distribution, or it was?
No, So it was a manufacturer's rep firm, repping Sony among
so
other
it's a
products.
representative.
Exactly.
Okay.
The LRG, the Lanier Rep Group.
Okay.
It's a big, huge rep group in the U.S. You know, Lanier is a famous gentleman, and they were the Canadian version. It was LRG North, and I was working with Jacqueline Hall, who currently runs what has been, I guess it's not Bosch Security anymore, but she runs that. So I was working with Jacqueline, who was Ken Hall's wife, and Jacqueline and Ken were running LRG North, and I worked for them. Now, about 6 months in, don't forget, I'm in my early 20s. I was in over my head. And I'm the kind of guy who, if I realize that I'm in over my head and I don't know what I'm doing, I will admit it to myself. And so about 6 months in, I'm feeling overwhelmed. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm working, he basically gave me, as a rep firm, he's like, you're taking care of Eastern Canada, you're the boss. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. And he was a great guide, and he taught me a ton of how to create relationships. But after about 6 months, I said to him, I said, look, Ken, I love what you're doing for me. I love this job, but I have no idea. I am in over my head. I have no idea what I'm doing.
Like too much.
It's too much for me.
Okay.
I wasn't ready for that level of role. And I was willing to admit it to myself. And I think that ability to say to yourself, look, I'm in over my head, I need to take a step back, is something that a lot of people don't do. And they end up burning themselves out, or they end up doing a job for too long and not doing themselves any good. Mm-hmm. I was willing to admit it to myself, and more to the point, I was willing to tell him, look, I'm messing up here. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't feel like I'm doing any good for you. And he actually...
So listen to yourself.
Listen to yourself.
Like first advice from you.
100%.
Okay.
Now, when you realize that and you do listen to yourself, sometimes good things happen. So here's what Ken does. Ken says to me, and I'm never going to forget this. Him and Jackie. I love Jacqueline Baker. Shout out to Jacqueline Baker. She's awesome as well.
We will take her when we will publish this video. Okay.
All right. So her and Ken, and Ken said to me, and I'm never going to forget this. He says, look, respectfully, I disagree with you. I think you have what it takes to be a great outside sales rep, to be a great territory manager. I understand you're feeling overwhelmed and maybe you don't know what to do, but I respect your choice. I disagree with you, but I respect your choice. Now, I just quit my job. I've got no job. I'm a young kid in his early 20s. I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm like, oh no, what am I going to do now? The day after I quit, Ken Hall has a meeting with Anixter. Now, here's the story behind this. Anixter was not yet...
It will be a podcast of the stories. It's a lot of stories, but we're still talking about your journey to...
It is my journey.
Consultant business.
Today I'm a consultant, and when I think back, it makes no sense to me almost that I'm here today. But this is how I got there.
Okay.
So, Anixter. Anixter was not a security distributor. Anixter is a wire and cable company. They were started by the Anixter brothers way back when. This is a communications and cable company. So when Anixter first got into the security world, way before they bought Triad, which now they've become Wesco because they were purchased by them, well, way back then, they had nobody from the security world. They had no security sales. They were a wire and cable company and a networking products company trying their hand at security. Well, they had hired exactly one person from the security world, a gentleman named Kevin Nixon, in Toronto, and they were trying to build a security business. They had no idea what they were doing. So Ken Hall, the day after I quit, has a meeting with Kevin Nixon in Toronto and says, honestly, Kevin asks him, Ken, if you know of anybody in the security world in Canada, we're looking for people. And Ken Hall, even though I just quit from this guy, he says, Kevin, I just lost Luke, and he is exactly what you need. He gives Kevin Nixon my personal cell phone number, and I get a random call the day after I quit, and Kevin tells me this is what Ken did. All the love in the world to Jacqueline and Ken. I owe them massively, because I would never have gotten hired had Ken not done that. They weren't even looking in the industry yet. So here I am getting hired from Anixter. I'm the second person from the security world in the entire country, the first person in Eastern Canada. My interview, the vice president of wire and cable, has no idea what security is. And he says, last year we sold $3,200 of stuff. Can you do better? I'm like,
I will try.
Yeah, I literally said, well, twist my arm. I'll give it a shot. So he hires me. I have no plan. He's just like, build us a business. And I got to give it to Ken. It's because of him that this happened.
How many years ago it was?
This would have been, let's see, 2001.
So to understand when Anixter started to sell security products.
About 2006.
Okay.
And at the time, Rocky Rodriguez, another legend in our industry, was the marketing manager for all of Anixter at the time. And I get hired on, and basically I'm running Eastern Canada. At that point, I was responsible for interviewing people and hiring people. A gentleman named François Chouinard, who still works at Anixter in Quebec, I'm the one who interviewed him and hired him way back in the day. And we built a business from literally $0 into a multi-million-dollar business. And some of the customers and some of the friends that I made over the 5 years that I was at Anixter building this business are still customers and friends today, like Les Alarmes Secure Plus, Vince Rossi.
Mm-hmm. So in Montreal.
In Montreal.
Okay. And now you're talking about like Canadian part of Anixter.
That's right.
What about US? Because we have a lot of viewers from US.
So Anixter at the same time was building in the US. They did it simultaneously, Canada and the US. Okay. They started to build a security business. And so I worked there for 5 years, and we built millions and millions of dollars, and I was directly responsible for, interviewing and hiring and helping outside and inside sales, and we built this beautiful business at Anixter. But 5 years in, I decided that I needed a change, and I wanted to give some time for my military service. So I left Anixter, and I went and I did some full-time Army. Now, right before I left, and leading up to it and during my military service, there was a company called Interlogix. Under the tutelage, the vice president is Larry L. Larry L is another living legend in our industry, somebody that everybody knows, and he became my second mentor. He had been after me when I was at Anixter, approaching me. I quit Anixter, I go do some full-time military service. He makes me an offer while I'm in Valcartier as an army base. He waits months for me to come back. And when I left the army, I took 2 weeks off, went to my sister's wedding, and I came back and I started at Interlogix. Now, none of this would have been possible without Anixter and without Ken Hall starting it.
So like step by step?
Step by step. It was my mentor who got me that far. Introducing my second mentor, Larry L. Larry L saw something in me and he said, all right, you're ready for this. You're ready for Eastern Canada. Unlike, I wasn't ready with Ken Hall. Larry L saw the same thing in me. He's an amazing judge of talent. He saw it and he said, you're ready now. Hires me right out of the army, gives me Eastern Canada for Interlogix. Now, Larry L taught me one major thing. And as a mentor, he taught me, yes, tons of things like how to run a proper business, how to look at P&L, how to, properly spend on creating that relationship with your customer without over pushing it, right? He taught me a lot of basics. And one of the biggest ones is how to run a sales team, a successful sales team. Best piece of advice I ever got. Larry L says to me, Luke, a good manager doesn't have to do anything. And I was like, what are you talking about? You're the best manager I've ever had. He says to me, here's the thing. I'm good at a bunch of different things. But my job as a boss is to find people who are better than me at one thing. People like Omer Bubaka. Omer has this almost supernatural ability to walk into a meeting and before the meeting to dissect all the possible outcomes from the meeting like a chess player calculating moves, and then to walk out of that meeting and have all these chess moves planned out for the next steps. I've never seen, it's preternatural. I've never seen anything like it. And that's what he saw in a guy like Omer. He picked people in his team that did something incredible as far as he saw it, better than him. And he surrounded himself with these people, and then as a team, everybody's strengths complemented everyone else's weaknesses. And he, as the boss, looks like a rock star. Doesn't have to do very much. He lets us do what we're good at.
Like a team with A players.
That's right. Think of the A team. Everybody's got something. And then you have the main guy, which I think the last A team movie is like Liam Neeson or something.
One smart, another like strength.
And then there's the planner. Well, in the A-Team movie, Liam Neeson is playing the boss. That was Larry L. He was Liam Neeson.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not sure which one I was. Probably the pilot or something. I don't know. So Larry L, over an 8-year period, best boss I've ever had. He understood that a proper sales leader leads, but gives you the freedom to do what you need to do. And I'm never going to forget it. In the interview, he literally says to me, he's like, if you have to pick up the phone in the morning and ask me what to do, this is not the job for you. You need to think on your feet and to be independent and to know what to do to get the job done. Ask yourself every day, what have I done today to move the ball forward? Football reference. That's it.
It was like very good educational job.
Incredible.
Let's go on, but because I ask about your journey, and because I know a lot of our viewers, they think about their own business, and we have a lot of search analytics that people looking for like security systems business. Different kinds, maybe installation business, maybe distribution business, and like your type of the business which you are running now. That's why please tell us your story, but at the same time keep in your mind how maybe our viewers they can use your experience, because I didn't know about this your story about your background. So now I understand that it's a lot of things which it's from your mentors,
of course.
Right? So that's why, and you are lucky, or maybe you create this situations that these mentors came to you. But a lot of us, we don't have mentors and we don't meet them or we don't recognize them. That's why
I think that's what it is. Everybody has mentors that appear in their lives. And I don't think that everyone is open to realizing, oh, this could be a mentor. This person is trying to teach me. I've met tons of people that the moment you try to teach them something or the moment you start to show them something, they shut down. Why? I know how this works. They're not open to learning.
Even I'm sure now some viewers, I know what he will say in the future. I
Always.
know everything this.
But here's the thing. If you're closed to the options of the world in front of you and you just shut your eyes to them, well, then you're never going to see what's right in front of your face. And for me, I refuse to do that. I'd rather take the lessons that other people have and use those to make myself better.
Yeah, this is nice. Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Okay,
So 8 years at Interlogics, and the Interlogics business shuts down. Now I've been working for 8 years for Larry L, learning how to be a leader, seeing him in action, learning how to run a business, helping him, and working with an amazing team. Guys like David Hind, guys like Omer Bubaka, guys like Larry L, Mohammed Rahim. And over all these years, making these connections and meeting customers and learning how distributors interact with a manufacturer at a high level, which when Interlogics shut down after 8 years, our industry stepped up in a huge way, specifically, and a shout out to Mark McRae, who offered me a job basically as to business develop, to create a new type of business within the Inaxess family. And I had a conversation with Mark McRae and I said, you need more run rate business, because a lot of his business at the time was, with ICT and with his video, was project oriented.
So let's maybe tell a few words about Inaxess, about your company. So it's in Quebec province, it's from Montreal, but it's a Canadian, US manufacturer distributor company, right?
Yeah. So Inaxess, as you said, it's basically a distribution / manufacturer, and they distribute systems like ICT. ICT
access
is
control system.
Access control and intrusion as well, both combined.
Okay.
Fully integratable with video. They have their own video line, so they have their own video products.
VMS.
Really good. Yeah, VMS called Archive, really advanced stuff.
And they build servers.
They do. They actually, it's super cool. As a Montreal company here, they build their own servers in-house and test these servers, something not a lot of people do. So really in-house stuff, truly Canadian company and privately owned. So Mark McRae gives me a job as a business development director to change his business. And at the time, there wasn't a lot of business going through distribution, but because I understand what distributors want, I worked at both ADI and Wesco, and I've worked as a manufacturer, which was a prime partner for Anixter at the time, or Triad, which became Anixter, which became Wesco. Well, I understood from a manufacturer's point of view how to make distribution happy. So he hired me with the intention of listening to me and helping or allowing me the freedom to change his business and to create a run rate business for him. And I got to give it to him. As the owner of the company, he doesn't have to listen to anybody. But he gave me the green light to do what I needed to do without restrictions. Within a very short time, he realized that despite COVID having happened in 2020, because now we're in 2020, COVID happens, and despite that, the changes that I brought to the table started to have a very, very positive impact. We started to grow our run rate business with distribution. Now, we didn't lose our project business. That was just the icing on the cake. We started to build a run rate business, which they had never really had before, or very little. So these changes that I brought to the table, he recognized what I was doing, and he gave me a promotion to vice president. So I became a vice president for the company, which I was the only VP who was not an owner, right? The other VP is an owner of the company. Here I am, this young kid, or I guess maybe not young anymore, after 20 years in the industry, but here I am, a younger person, not an owner of the company, and he gives me complete autonomy to do what needs to be done. I worked there for 5 years, and during this time, we were able to create a very beautiful business, bring people onto the team, great salespeople, amazing team, people like Joanne Robertson, we brought on David Hine, great family. And we were able to build this business, grow it by millions and millions and millions of dollars, not lose the project business, but rather build a new portion, which is run rate business, that added to the projects, changing his complete business, allowing them to change their business model. And I learned how to do this simply by my experiences, both at Interlogics under Lariel and at Anixter and ADI, learning the ropes.
And used your connections.
And used all the connections that I built over these times. After 5 years, I had a great job. I'm vice president of Inaxess, working with a fantastic team, people like Joanne Robertson and David Hine and Mark McRae. I had no reason to leave, other than I said to myself, you know what, maybe it's time. I want to go out on my own. Now, going out on your own, starting your own business, it's not easy. You don't know what's going to happen, right? It's a chance. You're rolling the dice quite literally. And I said to myself, but you know what? I was 45 at the time, and if you don't try, you don't know. Maybe you're going to try, maybe you're going to fail miserably and you're going to lose money. But maybe you're going to be successful. If you don't try, you don't know. And most people never take the leap. And there's a good reason for that. A guy like myself, who comes from a poor family, who grew up with nothing, who's quite literally a self-made man, who worked from the bottom of the industry, making these connections and learning from everyone I possibly could, building myself into this career that I've made, and now I'm a vice president for Inaxess, and I'm a self-made man in this. But that means that I've always relied on other people to give me a pay. Now, I had to put my own money that I had worked for all these years for into this company, and I'm paying myself with my own money. It was the scariest thing I've ever done. But if you don't try, you don't know. So about a year ago, opened LSL Security Consulting. Now here's the thing. Security consulting isn't easy. You know that, right?
Yeah, can you explain about the model of this business?
Sure. I don't install any products, right? Companies that install products are companies like Les Alarmes Secours Plus, like, Panavideo, like Garda World, or, these are companies that buy products, sell products to end users, and install those products for these end users. That's not what I do. I don't compete against my customers. What I do is I consult for manufacturers. Currently, most of my business comes from a company called Noah. So Noah is a company that it's kind of like an alarm system, but it's a security adjacent product.
Okay.
It specializes in water damage prevention systems. So if you have a flood in your house or in your condo building, it's alarm products that detect it and then activate a valve with a motor stopping the flood and alerting you to it, right? So the goal is to mitigate damage when water is concerned, and that's the whole thing they do. Well, they needed someone, a security consultant, to run their sales business. They made me an offer, and that's why I opened my company. I am consulting for them, but I'm not a direct employee. So they pay me, and then my company bills them every month for whatever percentage of the sales we make, and then I use that money. But I don't just consult for them. Because I'm a consultant company.
So you have freedom to choose a manufacturer, any manufacturer which you want to sell.
I'm
not
almost
just
like a
to sell, it's like you promoting, right? You're not selling the products.
I'm not selling the products. The manufacturer sells the products, or the integrator sells the products. I am the reference for them. So for example, Noah doesn't have a sales staff.
Okay, but can I say that you like representative of manufacturer?
Yes, I'm like a manufacturer's rep, exactly. The difference is because they don't have an inside sales staff, they don't have salespeople, they run all their sales through me. I'm a manufacturer's rep for them. That's literally what Ken Hall taught me how to do back in the day. He was a manufacturer's rep, now I'm a manufacturer's rep. So that's what I do for the most part is Noah. Now, this is a shout out to you, Oleg. When I was at Inaxess, I created my friendship with you, right? We found each other. And we made a ton of videos. And those videos were all Inaxess based, and it's all because of Oleg that we made all these videos and Pipl Systems. And I was in a lot of these videos on how-tos. So another company that I rep right now actually is because of you.
Okay.
So let me explain. Because Oleg is so good at these videos, and he created all these videos at Inaxess with me, a bunch of these videos were viewed by a company called Reka AI. They're an artificial intelligent multimodal model that knows nothing about security. But one of their main guys, Eric Chen, happened to see one of my videos and then happened to watch a second one and a third one. He's like, wow, this guy seems to know what he's talking about. And he randomly reached out to me, and I am now repping Reka. I'm helping them to learn about the security world and create relationships in the security world and a software that functions artificially intelligent for the security space because of your videos.
Okay, so videos which we did for Inaxess,
that's right.
They help you to find your customer or like partner.
Correct. That is correct.
So that's why maybe we need to explain. Like it's really funny story that when I moved from Ukraine to Canada, I was like newcomer. I didn't know I know nothing about Canada, about Canadian security industry. And then I contacted with Ajax because in Ukraine I had distribution business of Ajax systems. And I contacted with Ajax because I knew that some distributor of Ajax system in Canada. And they gave me contact of Luke. And then Luke, please tell your story.
So the story is because I had worked for Interlogix, and Interlogix was mostly a manufacturer of intrusion products. That was the majority of our business. Well, when I came to Inaxess after Interlogix, one of the reasons I came is because they were looking at the Ajax product, which is one of the best alarm systems I've ever seen. It's a fantastic product, really, really awesome product out of Ukraine. And they were looking to be bringing it to North America for the first time. So they were in touch with Alex, Sasha, which is the owner of Konotopsky. So Sasha is
the founder, the owner of Ajax Systems.
He's the owner, as well as his right-hand man, Valentin. So Valentin is his marketing guy. So when I first, got the promotion to VP, we met with them in New York City, and we had dinner with them, I think twice, but really nice guys. We created a friendship, and I ended up having Valentin on, Messenger, where we message each other on WhatsApp and stuff. So Valentin one day messages me and he says, hey, my buddy Oleg, he's a refugee from Ukraine and he's coming in, and can you help him open a company? So of course I'm like, Val, anything for you, brother. So I meet with Oleg, and the day I met you, you're pitching me and you had no idea how to open a company here and no idea.
Yeah, I wanted to open my business in security industry like I did in Ukraine. Yeah, and I wanted to sell some of my products to Luke, my services.
But here's the problem. You're going to open a company without having the contacts, without knowing anything about the industry yet, and you're going to do it with what money? I mean, the guy's coming here from Ukraine as a refugee living in Ottawa. So after meeting him...
With no contacts.
With no contacts and
in
nothing.
Canada and in US.
So out of respect for Val, we had the meeting. I'm going to help this guy. But after the meeting, as I'm driving home, I just met this guy literally that day. And I call Mark McRae, the owner of the company, and we have a conversation. And within 2 seconds, I'm like, look, we got to hire this guy. And Mark's like, yeah, we should hire him. We need a marketing person. And I had already had the idea with Mark to create videos. We had already created a few videos before then. And I was like, this is a way to differentiate ourselves from the competition. We had already created some of the videos. I wanted to build a YouTube page. And who better than a guy who knows what he's doing?
Because we did the same in Ukraine for our own business. So then, next year, we created near 200 videos for Inaxess YouTube channel.
I literally called you on the way
Yes.
home in my car, said, come back, and we made him an offer. Hired him as our marketing guy to create our YouTube page. And we did. We did hundreds of videos together.
And then, one of these videos brought you new customer, Reka.
That's right.
So now we return to Reka.
Now we return to Reka. So Eric Chen, who was at Reka, sees my video. He's like, wow, this is great. Sees another video and another video and another video. So what does he do? He gives me a call, or actually contacts me on LinkedIn, and he says, well, can you help us? We don't know what we're doing in the security world. We just want to use you as a consultant to pick your brain, to ask you questions so that we can better create our software to integrate with systems. So he starts by hiring me for a single hour, then a couple more hours. Then it gets to a point where he realizes, based upon all the consulting I've done, he's like, okay, we really need someone like you on the team. But they're not going to hire me. I mean, I've got my own company. I'm not going to ditch my company for them. However, we create a hire agreement, and now I become like a manufacturer's rep for Reka. And now I'm helping them to quite literally design the future of the security industry. For me, this is the most exciting product, the most exciting capability I've ever seen. I believe that true artificial intelligence will change our industry for the better.
We just filmed a video with Luke about this software, about this solution. So I believe when we'll publish this podcast, this video already will be published on our channel.
Hopefully.
Few words about this solution, to understand what's such unique thing.
So traditional security, the way it functions in a video world, it looks at an image and you can create, let's say, what's called AI rules. They're not. I can create a line in an image and say, create an alarm if somebody goes from left to right or right to left over this line. Or I can put a box and say, if anybody goes into this intrusion box, create an alarm, or if anyone leaves it. Or if I want to do a smart search, like Archive, there's a video online where a phone disappears and we can highlight the phone and say, show me when any movement is done here. The thing is, and I'll use the phone as an example, if an item is moved or I want to search around an item, I'm searching for any movement that happened around that item, which means every false alarm, everyone walking in front of it, any changes in pixels. I get tons and tons and tons of video. But I can't really ask it anything about that video. I can't interact with the search engine. Well, in an artificial intelligent world, the AI engine understands the human world just like you and I do, but through cameras. This is a completely different story. It's like having a conversation between us, but you're talking to an AI engine that's seeing the video. So now, instead of searching, putting a box around the camera or the phone or whatever and saying, find when there was movement here and tons of false alarms, you say, who interacted with this phone? And it only brings up anyone who ever touched the phone and actually interacted with it. Well, now you can ask it more questions. Well, hold on. This guy just stole that phone. Where did he go? Where else was he? What car did he drive in on? Has he ever been here before? You can then...
So you can communicate with VMS like with Siri, right?
That's right. It's like talking to Siri, asking a Siri absolutely anything, but now in a security space.
Nice.
But not just that. So here's the thing. It's an AI engine that understands our world. Well, if I'm watching a video and I see two kids wrestling, is it different than two people actually fighting? Of course it is. As a human being, I can see the difference. I can understand the difference. Well, imagine an AI engine that could. That's what we're talking about. It sees this and it understands the difference between two people maybe wrestling and two people actually fighting. Or it understands the difference between a real, a car somebody pulling over on the side of the highway to go pee versus somebody losing a tire and causing an accident. Things like that. We haven't yet found the limitations of what AI can do simply because it's still in its infancy. And that's why I believe that through the integrations of Reka's AI engine with the different manufacturers and VMSs out there, companies like Turing, which is already integrated, I believe that the future is very bright, and the active alarms, things that are going to prevent crime, not just prevent crime, or either prevent crime or potentially actively alert people as crimes are happening.
I agree.
Change our world.
This must be the future of security industry.
Completely.
Okay, and now look about money, because again, this is the main question. Like when people thinking about own business,
Yeah.
Like because now I see of your journey, right? So it's like you step by step, higher level, more responsibility, more contacts, more sales, and then in one moment you decide to be sales rep, right? It's like for manufacturers.
Yep.
Is it the same like consultant business, or like what's the difference?
There's two ways of doing consultancy.
Or you doing this both of these things?
So there's two ways of doing consultancy. For example, part of what I do, and this is, I mean, it's a small portion, is some people will utilize me as kind of a gunslinger salesperson. So let's say you're an integrator and you have an advanced application and you don't really know what you're doing. You're like, oof, this might be, out of my scope of knowledge. Well, I have a ton of knowledge which I've built up over time. I've learned the industry. So part of my work is as a consultant where an integrator can bring me into a job and I will help them to sell that. I will help them to build a project, whether it's access control or video or anything else. Now, that's generally speaking not most of my business. Most of my business is as a manufacturer's rep firm.
Mm-hmm. So you see, it's more like for you, more value, more like focus on to work with manufacturers.
That's right.
And how, like, what's the goal? Like, what's the like financial goal for you?
So how it functions is, let's say, and I'll use a real world example. Let's say there's a project, a condo building, in the case of NOAA, in Florida. And that condo building is a high-end condo building who's had a bunch of floods before. Well, the integrator, the person who does the installation down there, doesn't really know about these products. So what do? Mm-hmm. That integrator is like, well, I need help to design it. I need someone to come to the end user and meet with the end user and help me design this whole project and sell this whole project. Well, in that case, which is a real world case, the integrator contacts me. I go with the integrator. I teach them about the products. I show them how it functions. I train their sales staff. I train their technical staff. I go on site and meet with the end users and help them to sell the project. Now this project comes to fruition. They go to the bidding process. They win the job. In this specific case, which was shipped 2 weeks ago by NOAA, we're talking about a sales price of $750,000 US. Huge project.
It's equipment or plus services?
No, that's the whole project.
Okay.
I don't know what the final sales price is, but I'm guessing it's somewhere around there. So a really, really big project, and it's a single project. But I was directly involved with the integrator, teaching them how this stuff works.
So you invest your time.
Of course,
right?
It's my time. That's what people are paying for. And in exchange for having done this, NOAA pays me a percentage of the sale because I'm a consultant. I'm working as their sales consultant, directly dealing with the integrators, teaching them sales, teaching them how the projects are built, teaching their technicians, and following the sale through to the end.
And in result, like maybe not about you, but in general, for example, such like company like you, like your company,
Yep.
how much can earn in 1 month?
I can't talk direct dollars because I only have had the company for 1 year, right? I'm still a fledgling company. I'm still in the process of building my brand.
But you already like earn more money than you earned before, in average.
It's just different. I'm not going to talk direct numbers. I would never, ever do that. But I can tell you there are some legends in our industry who are rep firms.
Yes.
I earlier mentioned Ken Hall. Well, he was LRG North. Well, the LRG Lanier Rep Group down in the US is a famous rep group that has tons and tons of salespeople, makes millions and millions of dollars of commission from various manufacturers as a rep firm. So there are companies which are very, very successful, right? Look at Carl Jorgensen. A guy like Carl Jorgensen,
that's why.
Titan.
No, that's why I'm asking, because, like, for example, imagine that a lot of people now, for example, watching this video, who like in the same position like you was 1 year ago. They have super huge experience, but they have feelings that they want to start own business.
Yep.
So what you advise, like maybe what they need maybe to earn more experience at first, or maybe then they need to find some partners, some manufacturers to start, or they can jump and start from some empty space.
So if I had jumped and started without an agreement with NOAA in place,
Okay.
I would have started with $0 incoming. Whatever money I put into the company would have been paying myself with nothing more coming into the funnel. You can't start that kind of thing without an existing agreement in order to start it, right? That's what I had. That's what a guy like Carl Jorgensen started Titan Rep Group. And he started it with a good contract. Look at him now. He's got a team across the whole country doing amazing things. But it started with an agreement in place. So if you want to get into becoming a consultant and you want to become a rep group, you could, if you had enough money, just start it with no sales and start it with no companies. But generally speaking, that's not a good idea. The best way is to find a company that needs that help, create the agreement with them, and start that way, like I did, like a guy like Carl Jorgensen, a living legend, has. That's how I did this. I had the agreement in place, and I opened my company to rep for NOAA, which has led to RECA, which has led to other things.
And your services, because it's about how to find the customers. So manufacturer mostly bring you end users, like some companies, and you start to communicate with them. Or it can be options that you can find by yourself, some companies.
Both.
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 Okay, and conditions for you the same of commissions?
Of course. So they use me to service their existing customer base.
Okay.
So if they have an existing customer that's been their customer for a long time, I'm taking care of those people, just like I would anybody else. However, part of my job is also to bring them new customers. I have meetings with new customers, I bring them to the table, I pitch them on the product, I get them starting to use NOAA, testing it, and eventually doing big projects. And that is part of it as well. So as a rep firm, I'm both taking care of their existing customer base and bringing them new customers and servicing these. And if it grows big enough, well now, just like a company like Titan under Carl Jorgensen, I will start hiring more people and building my brand and building my company. And eventually we could be a great team across the country. But it all starts with making that hard choice. And I did make that hard choice a year ago, and now I have a rep firm.
Yes, but it's for me, it's before talking with you and filming this video, I thought it's something more easier. You have some contacts, you have some relationships, and then I want to start my own business, and then but now you're so careful. You have NOAA, you have some new customers, so you see in long term you will have new partners, then you will hire employees, so step by step, right?
You can't run before you walk, right? When I first met you, the first thing I realized was this guy's in over his head. I've been there. When I was with Ken Hall, I was in over my head. And the fact that you were willing to listen and realize, oof, maybe I need to make these contacts first. Maybe I need to learn the industry first. And you were willing to accept that. It's humbling. I know it is. It's hard. It's a hard thing to accept that we're maybe not good enough or maybe not where we thought
we are not ready.
Exactly. But if you're willing to do that and you're willing to wait and you're willing to make those contacts, it will pay off in the long term. He's currently the owner of Pipl here, and it's doing really well.
With Jeremy, we're running almost 2 years our business Pipl Systems, and we're still learning. And from you, and in some way, you are our mentor.
Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
So maybe, honestly, I wanted more maybe talk about in this video about your type of business, maybe how to promote, how to, maybe some new trends of finding some customers. But I think this video was more, it's not just about you. You mentioned about a lot of people, and for me it was very interesting to hear it's history. It's not about your journey. It's about journey of security industry. It's the last 20 years. That's why for me it was very useful. So, buddy, because this video again, I wanted to create this podcast to talk about business and to help using this podcast to people to start or develop the existing businesses. So maybe can you tell in few words what your advice for people who trying to make their business better in security industry? I understand, like in general, it's like manufacturers, installers, integrators. It's
So no matter who you are, whether
Yes.
you're in a distributor, whether you own an integrator, you want to get into that integration business, or you're already in there, whether you own a manufacturing rep firm or you want to start one, learning. I wouldn't be where I was now without the ability and the desire to learn. And I'll use a real world example. Let's say you're an integrator. You've started your business, you're starting to go, you're doing alarms, you know alarms, you've worked in alarms for a long time, you learned it from whatever company you were in the past. All of a sudden an opportunity comes along to do a little bit of access control. Some people will close their eyes and say, I can do this, mess it up, and never want to go back there again. Some people will say, hold on, I'm going to humble myself. I'll lean on the manufacturers. Call a company like Inaxess and say, hey, can you teach me about your product? Right?
Yes.
Call a company like Titan and say, hey, can you teach me about the products that you rep? And that's where using other people and using these connections and learning from them will benefit you in the long term, will allow you to expand your business. And expanding our business is what everybody wants. We don't all want to just have one type of business and we're good now. We all want to grow. Well, that growth, the best way to do it is to push the limits. Push the limits of what you know and try new things and be willing to listen to other people and learn from them. Not just say, oh, I know how this works. That's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah. So I guys, I hope most of our viewers, they will not say like this. They will learn. Okay. And definitely we're still learning about, because me still newcomer. Yeah, I'm already 3 years in Canada. I'm very involved in Canadian, US markets. I trying to contact with more people, and even invite to our podcast and learn from them. So I'm trying to be open. We're trying to be and share with our audience, because the goal of our channel in general is to share. It's like we are not the most smartest guys. We're just sharing some information which we discover where we had our focus. Okay, guys. Thank you for watching. Thank you, Luke, for your time.
Thank you, Oleg.
Yes, I appreciate this.
Thank you.